Yeah, roll call.
Counselor Floyd,
Here.
Counselor Christopher,
Here.
Counselor Duran.
Here.
Mayor Clark, here, Council President Starr,
Here.
Counselor Cross,
Counselor Cross is excused for work.
Russell Person.
Counselor Parsons is excused for health reasons. Well, thank you all very much for joining us this evening. With us, for those who are listening to the recording, are representatives from all 5 neighborhood associations. We started doing this annual check-in a couple of years ago, but we first had to update our extremely out-of-date ordinance and did a lot of work to bring it up to speed. And now these annual check-ins are going to help us accomplish a couple of goals. One is to keep our ordinance current. So one of the first things I'm going to ask you all, and if you haven't thought about it now to get back to us, is the ordinance still in good shape? Are there things we need to look at to make sure that we made adjustments on a regular basis rather than, oh gee, that was 20 years ago, maybe we should look at it. Not a great plan. Second, I'd like to go over some of the things that we all worked together on last year. How's it working? What have you come up with? What are some of the things you've been working on? And then love to brainstorm with you to wrap it up on things for this year. What are some things that are going to help equip you all in your mission of reaching out to and connecting with the people in our community in your 5 neighborhood association areas. So those are some of the things that I'm hoping that we accomplish tonight. And what I'd like to hear from each of you as we do introductions is what you hope to accomplish tonight as takeaways for your organization going forward. So I'm going to start at my right, your left, and go down the row, and you can introduce yourselves and your neighborhood association, and that way I'll get on the recording. Tammy.
Hi, Tammy Savinar, Vice President of Northwest Kaiser. Neighbor associations, it just sounded weird on that. Go ahead.
Hi, Griffin Walker, President of Northwest Kaiser Neighborhood Association.
Okay, if you could turn off your mic. Yeah, just one of those should help.
Everybody get that?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Amy Hanson. I'm Vice President of West Kaiser Neighborhood.
Brenda Rich, President of West Kaiser Neighborhood Association.
Tammy Pence, President of Greater Northeast Kaiser Neighborhood Association.
Becky Green, Vice President, Greater Northeast Kaiser Neighborhood Association.
Don Davis, Secretary of the Southeast Kaiser Neighborhood Association.
Laura Daniel, Secretary for Greater Dexter Neighborhood Association.
Patty Tischer with I'm the President of Greater Dexter Neighborhood Association. I didn't come out.
Thank you. So I'd like to start again, maybe just as we've thought about coming into tonight, maybe what are one or two things that you hope to go home with tonight and back to your organization? So I'll start with Tammy and Griffin. If there's anything that comes to mind, we're gonna brainstorm this evening.
I defer to you to speak on behalf of us.
So one thing that we're interested in is talking about ways that the city can help advertise the neighborhood association.
Okay. Wes.
Yes, we're coming up on budget and I think we wanted to introduce that we're gonna ask for an increase in our budget. So. Like that.
Tammy.
We are doing more outreach, this year, with other events. We're working with the school a little closer. We got a new CSOC. Her name is Susie. Susanna, I call her Susie. And then we are working closer with the Neighborhood Family Council as well as more national night out items. And we are also going to be seeking an increase in our budget.
Southeast.
We just want to be able to get our neighborhood more involved and be able to get more attending and ways that maybe we can get some ideas on what can help us do that.
Counselor.
Sorry, we weren't very prepared, but I think all of the above, except for the budget increase, we are not supportive of that. I think we just need to we'll talk about that, but just better utilize and work together more, about that. One of the things, that I personally, wanna come away with is better mapping of our, each individual, neighborhood associations and better mapping of our individually, and then one that would show collectively all of the neighborhood associations, so that I know each of us have these individually, but I'd like each of us all to be able to have one that has each of the groups segregated around you.
Sounds good. Those are some great takeaways for tonight. Counselors, so you heard some ideas for approaching this tonight. Are you good with kind of tackling this, the direction? Let's look at the ordinance, look at some of the old business, and then start tackling some of the things people brought up. And do you have anything you'd like to add before we work our way down the list? All right, we're ready to rock and roll. So the first thing I'd like to know is with the ordinance itself. You know, we did a massive update, and with that always comes opportunity for making improvements. As we've gone through this last year, have any of you come across anything that you go, we might be able to do this a little bit better, or this is still not clear? And I might be sort of kind of launching this on you, but if there's an obstacle you hit this last year, now is the time to let us know if it's a tweak that needs to be made. I'm just gonna throw it out there, and if you think of something later, that's something definitely to bring back to council, go, you know, upon reflection, I think X. So I don't have anything, but I'm also not a liaison to a neighborhood association myself. Patty,
Well, and I apologize, I don't have this memorized. But my only, item or request is, timing of all of our meetings. Our budget request due dates, our report to city council. This joint work session is all boom, 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 boom. And also taxes are due. And so it's like, oh my gosh, I mean, it's like everything boom, boom, boom. And, you know, we're all volunteers, and I know you all have other outside activities, we have families, and so if there's just a way that we could not have so many items in a month and like week after week, if like this meeting perhaps, it can fall, I don't know, when is it not a busy time, but I mean, that's my only request. Does it have to be now? Can it be, you know, a different, if there's a slow time, that would be my only request. And I don't know if there's I think there's a requirement as far as when our annual reports are due. I get that, and coincides with budget with Tim, but it just seems like everything in once, so.
But when are they due?
the budget reports are, the annual report and the authorization are due prior to budget, because this is for the next fiscal year, so that's why they've all been happening in the last 2 or 3 council meetings, because we need to get that done. So they can submit their outside budget requests and be in compliance for the next fiscal year.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Mr.
that,
Lindsay.
that in particular says that they have to come with their annual report between March 1st and April 30th.
Mhm.
So if you did want to change that, you would actually have to change the ordinance for that.
Right.
But not the joint. The joint meeting is open.
So, and that might be a compromise to change this particular.
Right, so the timing for this, so the other question is, as, you know, the timing for this meeting, is that more helpful now as you're putting your budgets together? Is it more helpful later? So I think that's a conversation to happen for next year as we're planning for the timing. This was mostly for our convenience because it's like, okay, how can we squeeze in all of the work sessions that we're trying to get done? And this is important. Yeah, and then budget's coming up. So here's a question, and again, I'm not asking for a decision tonight. Is this meeting more helpful before budget or after budget?
Before.
So it could be earlier, January, February are usually goal setting. So that's gonna be tough for us, so,
How you do it different.
you know, March, April, to get it done before budget. Is gonna be pretty tough. Yes,
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Patty, what was the first thing you mentioned?
Budget, annual reports and work session.
Work session meeting. The one we're at now. I'm gonna coin antibiotics.
Yeah, it's right there with you, girl.
allergy season is doing its thing on all of us. And that is a lot, we're kind of piling in right now, but budget is a really heavy season, so, is March better than April?
Yeah.
So we can put a pin in for trying to get this into the March rotation for next year as you're, because again, you're gonna be in the process of submitting your annual reports. It is still the same season. But it would also be pending if we have something that comes up that we have to have a session that will do that.
Do we have annual reports?
If we're reporting, thanks.
The annual reports are based on 2025 last year.
Right.
So you close those books in December. So wonder if the annual reports were due by January 31st. That gives you. But would you have all the information you need to do it in January?
We would, but I would prefer to have a bigger timeline, like March first is, yeah, I didn't know it was March first. I thought we could do it anytime after January.
Well, see, that gets it bundled.
Yeah,
But if you, I mean, in my mind, the annual reports, you report out, here's everything we did last year.
right.
And so that necessarily, does not coincide with a budget request. And it doesn't coincide with a work session where we work together to find out where we're going. So that's forward looking. Here's what I'm trying to say. I finally pulled it together. Budget requests and work sessions are forward looking. Annual reports are in the rear. So it seems to me, and we don't care, whatever makes it work for you. But if you were able to do that in January, then that box is checked and the past is in the past. Let's move forward. Then you'd at least only have two things for the March to April 10th, I think is the last date for a budget request.
Yeah.
Is it April 30th for budget request, Tiff?
At the request of last year's budget committee, I moved it up to April 10th.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, that's, like I said, I don't think we care.
As long as we get it before budget. Tammy?
We were not aware that it was calendar year, so for us, the annual report is April to April. So if it's intended to be calendar year, we should make that one.
Oh,
Okay. And agreed, this intended to be calendar year, does anybody disagree? So, Mr. Lindsay, would you make that adjustment? There we go, that's where you make things better. It is intended to be calendar year. Even though we do operate on fiscal year, but that calendar year then informs your budget request that is due by mid-April. So you do have to get it done. Patty, oh, I'm sorry, Council President Starr, I'll come back to you, Patty.
So if it is on a calendar year, what if you had it? If we just kind of bump the time frame up, I heard what you said about January is kind of a. Holidays are over, take a deep breath, but then if you had it in February, right, by the end of February. If that's 2 months to get it in and get scheduled to have your report into city council, and then that would give all of your groups. March and maybe the first part of April to do your budget requests, right? If we're trying to get it in by mid-April, and then. You mentioned, Mayor, the work session, because I do see the wisdom in having the annual reports, the work session, and the budget request fairly close together and in some type of sequence, because that's informing us, right? Especially if, you know, like we heard tonight, there's gonna be some increased budget requests. We don't have this meeting and we don't know what you did last year, and I'm not saying, like, we just can't be everywhere all the time. But if we don't know what all of your accomplishments were the last year, and we don't have this work session where we can have the dialogue about a potential budget increase, then everyone's at a disadvantage when it comes to the budget process. So that there is wisdom, I think, in how that was sequenced out. I think it's just a matter of moving maybe the annual report up. So you can present it anytime between January 1 and February 28th.
There you go.
I like that. Yeah, first to have it done by the end of February, try to schedule this during March, and then your budget request is during April. There's a real advantage to having this conversation, because something we've done the last couple of years is something that you're planning for your budget. Sometimes we can all brainstorm on another way to fund it. And you've done that. So I think we have that conversation tonight. That would put you in an advantage then on your budget request. So this year's gonna be a little tight, but sorry. Did I see, Patty, did you, Councilor Fuller, did you have something?
I just was gonna say, we weren't aware either all these years that it was, the report was calendar year, because we've always done April 1 to March 31 as our report, like they've done.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's good, and maybe that's just something that got buried and it was the little fine print that we didn't pay that close attention to and hadn't been brought to our attention, because our reports that we've been submitting had been that. So anyway, so we'll need to make that adjustment going forward for this year. And then I forgot what I was gonna say. But I'm sure it's gotten answered in. Oh, what I was gonna say is that regarding our scheduling of our report to city council, Melissa is fabulous about giving us the available and saying, okay, you choose what date works for you. So that, you know, that's very helpful, and we appreciate that we have a few options instead of just this is the date you have to report. So we have been given an option. It's not that it's just that it's just.
I found that calendar year, which we've been doing, I didn't know it was not clear, but it closes out the year.
Right.
And we have our elections in January.
Right.
So it made sense to, yeah, I like the way it's proposed.
So
And the
change-
February 1st to say March 1st. We're
No,
saying-
January to February 28th.
Yeah, just
Okay.
by the end of February.
Yeah. There you
And
go.
every fourth year, February 29th.
29th, yeah.
Always think it's that nice to have that extra time, but like Patty said, we get into taxes. I got my taxes done now, working on the annual report. So,
Oh, yes. Taxes and budgets and taxes, springtime.
It's our certain
Yes. Yes, they are. Okay, and this was really good, again, making these changes as we go, I really appreciate it. Anything else that has been that has come to mind with the current ordinance? I didn't really see anything when I went through, but again, I'm not on the front lines. Nothing from our liaisons? Everybody good? Hey, Tammy.
When I read through it just to see if everything still applied, I noticed from the recognition section that there's a list of things that the city has offered to provide, which I don't think everything is still applicable, so maybe we can look at that. We don't have to look at each one right now. Such as email the association notices of other city issues that may result in action taken blah blah. Email the association agendas for all city commissions, board and city council meetings. Those aren't coming out our direction, and they don't really have to because the website is robust. So maybe we can just remove it as part of the list if possible.
No, we've had a lot of conversation about that. Okay, what section is that, if you could please?
2-272.
272, okay.
And then to that note, number 6, provide systems and publicizing activities of association. We can discuss that. This thing will be in here. We will discuss that further, what you can provide for us.
So let's hit these one at a time. We had a very robust conversation about notice because there was a question on notice for public hearings for planning commission. And we want to make sure that it got to all of you in a timely fashion, which is now really easy to do with the subscription opportunities. You can subscribe and you get all the notices automatically, and it's no longer where it has to be done manually by the city recorder's office, which is fabulous. Have you all done that? So it comes to, so all the notices for all of the committees comes to your email for your organization. I'm getting head nods.
We get the planning ones, but I can't say that we're getting everything else.
So all of you now have the power to subscribe. So to your point, we might need to change that where, because the city no longer has to do those notices, you can subscribe. So we would then put in there that it's up to the organizations to subscribe to receive the notices.
Yes,
And we don't have to do it anymore.
yes,
What do you think about that?
do that.
And we put it on our agenda and on our website to subscribe, for people to subscribe to the
Yes.
city. It's not our responsibility to send out the email for every meeting that the city has to the association.
Yes,
We
so-
haven't done that.
So, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm. So 2-272. 1 and 2 are both email the association requests for comments, email association notices of other issues. Email, okay, number 3, emails association attendance for all city commission board, but now that can change to the. We don't have to do that anymore.
But I just think that in there that it should be somewhere in the ordinance that it's the responsibility of the neighborhood association to ensure that the organization email, so. I don't know your email by heart, but I'm gonna just kind of make one up, but NWKNA for Northwest Kaiser Neighborhood Association at gmail.com would be subscribed to the portal. And you would be getting all those things, but so if it's a subscription, right, I think it should be, we need to make it clear that the neighborhood association now has to ensure that they're registered or that they're
Just them,
subscribed.
not their members, but their.
Yeah, correct. So 1, 2, and 3 could be rewritten is that, that the neighbor association shall maintain an email to which all of the city notices shall be subscribed.
Yes, that's perfect.
I would double check internally if number 1 is subscribable, because it may not be. We get that one, that's the one we get the email, sorry.
Fine. That's a good point on number 1. Ms. Brown.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. Guest. She's right, the planning action notices aren't on our notify me page. And that's the one that we do send directly out if there's a planning action that's happening in their neighborhood association, and they've been getting notices about that.
Why is that, Adam?
It's possible. I mean, we could set up a notify me of any land use issue in the city, but it wouldn't be specific to a neighborhood association.
Oh,
It
so
would
they
have
would
to
all
be a.
get notification that there's a land use
Mhm.
action somewhere.
Yes,
It might be in Gubzer, but Northeast is gonna get it.
yes.
Well, is that what happens now?
We asked for that.
We asked for that.
Yeah, you all get them all now anyway.
Yeah, so that's the thing, let's do that.
It's not automatic, it's not a subscribing.
What,
Yeah, there is a planning calendar notify me.
oh, good.
So,
So one consideration with this is, if we do change it to this, the city would have to perpetually offer that functionality of subscribing for updates. Just pointing out that y'all are saying you're gonna offer that forever.
If we
It's still
change it,
changed.
we'll have to change it.
What's really forever, Greg?
It should be.
Death and taxes.
Gee.
neighborhoods.
Okay, so, Mr. Lindsay, can you come back with, that would help work with business on what we actually do. That would streamline this to,
That's a great idea.
make it clear about the notification. The subscribe me. And that the neighbor association shall provide an active email to the city to which all committee and commission and council notices shall be sent. Something to that effect. Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Okay, modernized.
I think you have emails from the office of the association, so can we?
Whatever you provide.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanna make sure though, it's one thing to have the officers' emails. If those officers change and that email changes, it's incumbent upon the association to make sure that those emails are updated versus. I think Northwest, you have it set up so there's an email and it automatically goes to your officers, right? So I just wanna make sure that that distinction is made, that it would be incumbent upon the neighborhood association to update or change or make sure when those changes happen, that if that's how you're gonna set it up, that emails are subscribed.
Right.
Yeah, because Griffin helped us do just that, so it goes to everybody when it goes to our email.
Right.
Everybody on the board gets the same one.
When it goes to the neighborhood association email?
Huh?
When it goes to the neighborhood association email, it goes to all the officers?
Yep.
Okay. So, and Griffin's super smart and super techie, so have him help you. Yes, I'm still.
Voluntold. Okay, excellent. And then, let's put a, wait, I'm sorry, Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just, we need to be a little cognizant of Mr. Griffin's time because he is indeed a genius when it comes to all these things. And a little bit of help, I think, is fine, but unless you're willing to, your neighborhood association is willing to compensate him for some of these things, then I think we just need to kind of rethink that. Griffin, you do a great job. I just don't want you to get weighed down doing a bunch of stuff that you really didn't sign up for.
Appreciate that, Tim.
I'm sorry, I just want to clarify, I wasn't implying that Griffin does it. I just wanted to make sure it was clear that it's incumbent upon the neighborhood association, so I'm sorry, Griffin, if I.
Griffin, I was implying that you do it,
Let's listen in.
so that they are consistent and
I
aligned.
didn't take it that way, Counselor Starr, and I appreciate pointing, it should be clear that. The setup that you're talking about should be how things are set up.
Awesome.
Great.
Okay, so we've got a couple of changes we're gonna be making to the ordinance so far. Anything else that popped up? And Patty, to your point, we will get to item 6 as one of the topics for discussion, assistance and publicizing, and that came up earlier, so I'm gonna put a pin in that for a moment. Anything else in the ordinance itself? Was the post office box issue something that's still an issue? On number 7. We had a lot of discussion about that a year or so ago. So that's all working for y'all? Great.
No idea what you're talking about.
Sorry. 2.272, item 7. So some people have post office boxes, some people are picking up here, so is the handling of paper mail.
So what's the question?
So the question is, there was a question about, if you have a post office box or having mail delivered here. I think all of you do it differently with mail. Or do you all do the same?
For neighborhood association mail.
For neighborhood association mail, where does it go?
We don't have any.
You don't get, paper mail.
Super smart, super techy.
I get some scouts, TSP.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Okay. Paper mail.
Ours comes here, but I was accidentally having a personal email, I started getting spam mails. You know, apply for this credit card, et cetera, I'm like, I need to figure out how to get that out of here. It's now to the city,
Okay, so it comes to the city and it has that help.
yes.
Well, and we don't really have anything, and the only, like Ron said, SCAT, sometimes they've sent things to neighborhood associations, and I think they started sending them to the city, and then either Melissa or Dawn, I don't remember which, then they just like emailed us. Like, cause it's a postcard, I think, and so I don't really think that it's a big deal, and then the other thing that we get for the association is just when I, register us for National Night Out through the national organization. And then if I order any of their logo products, it just, I have it shipped to my house, so it's not, and I just do it as an in care of. And I haven't had any issues with that, and it's just like a one time every couple of years that I order anything, so
So my question is section 7 still relevant?
I don't really think it is. But
It doesn't sound like it.
I think it's nice to have the option, right? Essentially, you're just saying in section 7 that if the neighborhood association wants a post office box, that it can be covered by their funds, by their allocated funds. It's not saying you have to have one, it's not saying you don't have to have one, it provides that option. So it may not be entirely useful for us now, but you know, a different board might decide differently in the future.
Fair enough. Then, I'm moving down to boundary, and the question was brought about one of the things, and this is probably a city thing, would be using our GIS to have maps that are clear with the boundaries. Mr. Brown?
Yes, we have those on our geographic information system, and we can make maps till we're blue on the face and share with whoever we want.
Do we have that on the website too?
I believe so. Yeah.
Oh. Really?
Big Matter, can we get the number of, like, addresses or residences that are within the boundaries along with, like, and separated out with businesses?
We can get, probably, depends on how much work we're gonna put into it. We can definitely get resident or the addresses.
Would that account for the, different, like, the different apartment units or multifamily units? So we're not just counting like one, you know, one apartment complex as one address, but like how many?
Yeah, we've got it in there at some place because we use it to calculate the some of our fees. So
Yeah.
so it's like, you know, a friend used to say that Prego, the spaghetti sauce that's in there, it's somewhere. Yeah.
Okay, so some of that's already available, on our GIS, so, can we get a link sent from just the boundary map and see if that meets the need that was requested? For the boundaries of
Yeah, and
the city
where is it?
associations?
I'll have to find it on the.
Would it be under,
Yeah.
like, do we have a section for neighborhood associations?
We do, yeah.
I thought we did.
It's right. Anyway, if I start looking, then I'm not gonna be paying attention to what we're doing, so.
Yeah,
It's
see?
under resident,
Thank you.
right along the top. menu.
There it is. Yep, there's the drop down. So, neighbor associations in general. And all the links and everything.
You see the maps?
Yeah.
Interactive map is the very first item, so it's interactive map to find my neighborhood. Click on that. And there it is. It's in nice bright colors. Yes, Matt.
well, one of my issues that I had is just, I could bring it up on my computer, but I couldn't print it, it printed out all wonky. And so
Oh,
that's what I was referring to, having
Oh.
a nice,
you want a PDF?
a nice copy so that
Okay.
a physical copy, because I could bring it up PDF on the computer, but then it didn't want to print nice at my home, cheap computer, so. And printer, so that was what I was asking with the better city resources and equipment to be able to have it provided so that.
So we just need a nice, printable PDF. Okay,
Yeah, we can do that.
yes,
While we're on, looking at, the section for our neighborhood associations, can we, Mr. Brown, make sure, and I'd like do an inventory almost, if we have all of the minutes from each of the neighborhood associations posted. 'Cause I'm not sure that they're all there.
How long do we post them for?
Well, I'm looking at like Southeast Kaiser. No, I'm looking at Northwest Kaiser, sorry, put my glasses on. 3 goes all the way back to their inception,
Wow.
basically. So, which I think is great, but I don't know that all of our neighborhood associations have their the minutes posted. I mean, I'm just clicking on all of them and I know that they're not all there. So. I think that would,
it's posted on our website. We go back.
but it also should be on the city website.
How many years back do we have? Or the
I
city
don't-
website, I don't know.
and that's gonna start eating up a lot of memories.
I think even if we just go back like the year on our city website or
There,
whatever, I think a year is fine, but. I think we need to make sure that they're all there, is what I'm asking. I'm trying to be careful that we're not like identifying any particular. But I just think it would be the best to make sure that they're all there.
their PDF documents are relatively small.
Yeah.
Data use, so.
Okay.
And I think my understanding is we post everything that's sent to us.
Yeah, because they're all supposed to be sent to you, and you get them from all the neighborhood associations.
I think there's one consideration we need to be thinking about as we move forward is we need to be compliant with Americans with Disability Act and website accessibility standards. We're gonna have some new rules in place by April 17, 2026. And so we'll need to be real mindful about what we're posting on our website, if it's a PDF and that it's accessible.
Okay. So is there gonna be some document conversion involved?
We're looking into what that exactly means, if there's a tool that we purchase or if we need to provide some guidance on making documents accessible.
Thank you.
Griffin?
So sorry, I'm deep in this for work. You guys are
Yes.
probably small enough that you actually probably have until 2027.
Yes,
for compliance. Okay.
We
Okay,
have
so you have a year, because the state right now is trying to deal with 2026 compliance, which is not super fun. And there's a lot to that compliance, look into Common Look as software.
Yeah, I'm just looking at one of the neighborhood association's minutes and what it has to be set up so that if somebody who's blind, say, is using a reading tool for it,
Mhm.
that it's going line by line and not jumping around throughout the document. And so that's where there's some tech in the background that needs to ensures that all those PDF documents are going in a certain order and not.
With that, because of this compliance, it sounds like to me that we might be best to provide a template to the neighborhood associations that's used for the minutes so that they come to you compliant. Would that be a helpful tool, getting us ready for 27? I'm looking for Melissa.
Yes, we could do that. We're also looking at a tool that may do that for our website documents.
Yeah.
Okay,
So this is something we better put a pin in, and this is gonna be a compliance issue between now and our meeting next year. So, just to have everybody aware, communicate with Ms. Bissett as the regulations come out. That we're going to, the more that you can pre-set your documents, the easier it's going to be to get them posted onto our website, and then your websites will also be accessible. So winner on that one. Lori?
And our minutes a requirement for, yeah, okay, because those are the only thing we have to keep forever.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a requirement for reapproving the neighborhood.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Well, that's definitely something that the city should help us with.
I know,
Well,
that's why I'm saying that, because you've got to have that or you don't get recognized.
right. But we want to make sure we're staying up, this is news to me, because this is not an area where I'm living right now with the compliance. But if we can make it easier for everybody involved to produce templates, that, I love it, the fact that we might be able to get a tool that will help with that. Just, we'll need all of you to be aware and watching for those instructions as they come out, so you can make changes if necessary, and then definitely get help from Melissa and Dawn on making sure that you're comfortable with those tools and able to use them as quickly as possible. So that's gonna be the give and take here. And I'm glad we have another meter. We'll learn from all of the stuff the state has tried, and then Griffin will come back and go, this works, and don't go down that road. All right. Okay, that was very helpful. Okay. Anything else in the, and we might need to then put into the ordinance, we'll watch for language, and this might be putting a pin in it for next year. On anything on, the reporting requirements may then go into a formatted, document provided by the city. So let's kind of put a pin in that for next year. Does that sound okay? Yes, Mr. Lindsay.
We can also just write down with print rate, some suggested language for this.
Yes.
And it'll come to you later anyway, but I would say in a city suggested manner that adheres to ADA compliance. Because then we can always suggest whatever manner we want, and they would have to provide those minutes in that suggested manner.
And the reports, I think the reports probably gonna have to go that way too.
Of course.
So if we can provide templates, then it's easier for the neighborhood associations and it's easier for our record keeping to be in compliance. So can we also include reports? Hate to take away your creative individuality, but I think that we're gonna have to do that without documents.
It's still doable. You can still make things look pretty and be accessible.
All right. Retain your individuality, but we'll also make it accessible. Okay. That was a great heads up. Thank you, Melissa. Anything else in some of the ordinance sections? Oh, Jane, thank you.
In section 2.274 under the standards for recognition. Looks like item F. No, item H, sorry. Just for my day job, it's one thing to review your bylaws upon initial adoption. But I think there should be a review on a regular basis, not just upon initial adoption when amendments are made, because we're not gonna know necessarily. As a council, the way this reads, a copy of the bylaws shall be reviewed for compliance by the city council upon initial adoption and any amendments made by the neighborhood association. So I think we should look at that language because we're not gonna know when amendments are made. And initial adoption could have been, I'm just gonna throw out a date, what was the print song, 1999? Am I dating myself? You could have been formed in 1999, and so that's when we as the city council review them.
So what's your suggestion?
I'm not quite there yet, but. Coach
I missed
Lindsay, Mr. Lindsay, if we could maybe I'm just asking if there's some off the cuff like language that you can.
Well, and I will make sure that it says basically that if they were to wholesale renew their rules at any time, those would come to you, and if they were going to amend them at any time, they would come to you. Is that gonna cover that? Because
Well, I think, I mean, one thing that I think is a best practice, it is a best practice to have the bylaws reviewed on a regular basis, so whether that's every 2 years, every 3 years. But I think that they should be reviewed on a regular basis.
okay, so in addition
And
to.
maybe that's
in
by
addition to
staff.
them, if they wanna change anything, that's still up to you
But
guys.
and it's one thing to review them, it's another thing to review them for compliance and align
Well, it's your job.
with their bylaws.
And it is your job.
Okay,
We don't do that.
I will,
But the way this reads, it needs to be,
I will,
I think it needs to be cleaned up.
I will put that pen to paper and get it in front of you guys,
I have a thought and then Patty, I'm
Future
gonna have
meeting.
to. So my thought is that in your annual report, if the change has been made to the bylaws, that would be our check-in.
That's a great idea. Yeah, so just in the annual report, just include any updates to bylaws.
Okay, so
Well, and just my follow-up with that is that I think that's already a requirement that we're supposed to do if there's an update. If I'm not mistaken, I thought that like H and I kind of go together because it does say that our bylaws should be filed with the city recorder and maintained and updated to reflect amendment. So don't those kind of piggyback? We just don't have, and to Shane's point, which I think is a great point, like check-in times.
Yeah.
And so, like every 3 years or every 5 years, or because I know we are totally, our neighborhood association, we are guilty of that they have not been updated in a very long time. And we need to do that. It's just, and it's gotta be put on the front burner and not the back burner anymore. So,
I would err on the side of 3 years.
so.
And then again, that distinction between updating them and then reviewing them for being in compliance or alignment.
Because we have a conflict, because to this point, going back to. 2741. H and I talks about amendments, copy of the bylaws shall be reviewed for compliance by city council upon initial adoption and any amendments made by the neighborhood association. So by implication, I'm getting that comes back to city council, but then you go down to recognition. And 2-2756, affirmation that the association is in compliance with the neighborhood association bylaws at the time of the annual report. That's a conflict. In my mind. So which one is it? Is it us or is it y'all?
Can I
Mr. Lindsay?
maybe take a stab at that?
Sure.
They need to attest to you guys in their annual report that they have been in compliance with their own bylaws.
Correct.
That's what that is.
Right,
Okay, that they have to provide any updates or amendments to their bylaws to you guys separately from that. So like if they decided that they're gonna update their bylaws, and then they're gonna have to follow those too, but like in the annual report, they're just attesting, hey, we have these bylaws in our phone.
so a change in bylaws requires then coming back to city council for confirmation.
Yes.
Yeah,
We're kind of discussing this one direction about if we make changes to the bylaws and we need to make sure we're following our rules. But changes we make here today, we're not suggesting at all that we need to even look at our bylaws to see if they comply with what we're discussing as changes to the ordinance. So at what point do we review that direction and who does that?
That's annually, isn't it? It would be annually. We're doing it in our annual report. That we're complying.
well, that's in compliance with your own bylaws, but I
That
think
it falls on us that we are complying with the ordinance.
that's.
Because any changes we make, we have to come before the city council.
What I'm hearing from Tammy is that at what point are the changes we are making need that you have to go back and look at your bylaws, to make sure that you're in alignment with the current ordinance. Is that the question?
Yes.
That's what I heard, so we're going to be adopting an updated ordinance. And that, upon that time, it goes back to you all, take a quick look at your bylaws, are they current, kind of like what we're doing right now, make the tweaks. And if we need to bring them back for recognition, they'll go on the agenda. Colleen?
I read, okay. So the changes we're making tonight still have to come back to you as a council to approve.
Correct.
That gives us some extra time to work on that as well, knowing it's coming. Hey, guys, we have to get together and work on this.
Right.
And you're on.
Yeah.
Or- That's actually one of the things we call players, but. Mayor.
It's not the first time that.
That happened. The ordinance process here, even if it's unanimous, still has a 30-day period after the vote too. So you'll have more time than just the next time you have the additional 30 days, because it is an ordinance. So you'll have a lot of time, because I know you guys don't meet necessarily every single.
Yeah, we're not meeting through the summer. Yeah, so it probably won't happen until September.
Right.
I think that's fine.
Yeah,
It's just, I think it's, what I'm understanding is it's when you come and make your annual report, right? So you have to make sure the updates are in alignment. And then when you come back and you make your annual report, that's when you're attesting that you are in compliance with your own bylaws. And then I think that's our opportunity at your annual report, to look at your bylaws. And
And
ask any questions.
And what's interesting, right, is that annual report time is where you guys can decide whether or not you want to recognize. But there's a provision at the end of the older thing that says at any time you could try to revoke that recognition, but that still has a resolution process and a public process. So there would always be a heads up no matter what before you take action against your recognition. If that makes sense.
but I think the intent here is to have a process of ongoing alignment. And make sure that this happens on a regular basis, so we don't end up with a backlog. And that you all are on the same page and ready to move forward when we do have to make changes, like we're doing right now, I'm sending the new regulations that will affect. That make sense? Okay, so we can incorporate that in and make an update to our, the process for making sure that the neighbor associations review your bylaws when there's an update to the ordinance or on an annual basis, and then if you do change them, bring them back to us and we can make sure you're good to go. Does that sound right?
Can we say within 60 days of the time that you notify us of the ordinance or
Yeah.
the change? Like, 70 days.
Oh, yeah, there's a grace period in there. I don't think.
But I mean, you'll notify us of the changes.
Yes.
In writing, so we can see it.
No, no, it'll be fair.
Well, and then everything we submit goes to Mr. Lindsay, I mean.
Under bylaws.
Yeah, because when we did our renewal. I think it was last year. There was a couple of tweaks we needed to make and Mr. Lindsay contacted us through. I think Dawn's. And let us know, so he goes through all of what we send him. To make sure we're in compliance with everything.
And the reality, where the rubber meets the road is these guys will be the ones that decide ultimate compliance, but you're right. We won't leave you hanging around.
All right. Excellent. Okay. Are we good to go then on talk about some of the things we did last year? Okay, so again, it's something, if you wake up in the middle of the night and go, oh my gosh, I want to talk about the ordinance and so forth, definitely can bring it up and also.
With you.
I believe, did you not bring up the number 6 under 272? What it means to provide assistance?
Yeah,
So that was the one remaining issue.
right, that's the thing on that as well.
Yeah.
Patty, you wanna go first?
Yeah.
What was the number? I'm sorry, Claire.
2-272, 6 on advertising, and that was something we talked about last year and was on the list we want to talk about this year, so, why don't we talk about what you've done, what's working, and what does better look like? Does that sound good? Go. Who wants to start?
Go ahead, Beth.
Well, okay, I guess I'm a little confused though, because like the press release and city publications and other media. We haven't really, we didn't really talk about what. That looked like, Griffin, so I don't know where, my only thing is just the map is my big, and I think we already covered that. So, and it was just. And we do have, I think each of the neighborhood associations have, it's like an 11 by 17 big, large wall hanging of our map in each of our, whatever colors it comes out at. And at one point, there was one printed that size that had all of the neighborhood, but it seems to have gone missing. And so when, like, for instance, when we do the mayor's, state of the city, and when we do the fire department open house, we each have our own big maps, but it would be nice to have a big one that had the all together, all of them together too. So that's the only thing, like I say, who likes it, nobody seems to know what happened to it. But then this size, 8 by 10 is nice to have for just our little general meetings. So that's my only thing, so I don't know where you folks were. Because otherwise, I don't really know how the city or what means are available to help advertise all of us. We've talked in the past about putting a blurb in the water bill, and I know Tim, you know, that's a big thing, and I don't know. I don't know why, you know, I don't know the logistics of it, and how it would even be helpful, other than when we kick off again in September to have something. We tried working with Kaiser Times to put an article in, and they are having issues with publicizing correct ads. So I don't know how to say that nicely. So yeah, so that's where I'm at. I don't know how, what other city publications there would be that could help us advertise, other than the water bill, and I know there's just been hiccups. I don't know the logistics of how that could even come to be.
So, before I go to you, Griffin, who here actually sees a water bill?
Really?
Who never sees the water bill? There's part of the problem.
Right.
You put it in there, I will never see it. I'm on auto pay.
Well, I'm on auto pay too, but I get a copy of it and they.
Yes.
I like to read. I miss getting a real paper in the next.
We're on
Yes,
so
I read
different
the poor trees, I know.
Less paper is better. Me and my recycling can have an ongoing relationship. I don't even want coming in the house. So, but anyway, to that point, I hope part of this conversation tonight is, you know, what works in the various spaces in which you guys operate. And how we, you know, again, what the question was working, and then what does better look like? So that's kind of what I hope this dialogue lends us to. Griffin.
So I can freak everybody out, I'll tell you, I actually get paper bills for everything, even though it's tacky, because I like to have that physical thing to write down into the thing. So I see the water bill, but here's some possibilities that are modern, you guys might be able to help us with. One is. The city's a lot more active on social media now, and could be something, you know, like maybe a quarterly posting on the city's social media, just to give a shout out to the neighborhood associations, let people know we exist, link to the neighborhood association main page on the city website, so that way people are just more aware of it, because people do pay attention to your social media. Another possibility is, right now, for some reason, the neighborhood association calendars are completely isolated. There's one calendar per neighborhood association. And they are isolated to the neighborhood association's detail page only. They don't show up anywhere else that I can find on the website. So our meetings don't show up on the main calendar at all. All the other committees, all the other ones do, but ours do not. They're isolated.
Oh, because you're not a city committee.
Yeah, so if there's a way to resolve that so that there's a little bit more exposure of our meeting times on the main city calendar, or in a way where maybe there's one neighborhood association calendar that has all of our meetings and that can be better exposed rather than an individual calendar per association. It really depends on what your system allows, but those are two things that could probably help with some exposure for us.
Tammy?
So I see a big drop. That's the city council meetings themselves. So is there any way we can tap into that and whether it's just known or announced? Like, hey, pay attention to your neighborhood association, they exist and they're here to help you, come talk to us. Or on the agenda itself, but a blurb at the bottom, this is an opportunity, that's not a conflict. Just a thought.
So, looking at our agenda, because, under committee reports, we now do committees, neighborhood associations, and our youth liaison. We could rename that agenda item, committee and neighborhood association reports. That way it's clear that that is the part of the agenda in which that happens and draws attention to that. To your point, what we ask is that when we're doing committee reports, I ask, once we've done committee reports, is there anyone here from a neighborhood association who would like to give an update? So two things happen. One, you're on camera. Two, you're broadcast. And three, it's you guys, not us. Because if we're giving the report as liaison at the end of the meeting, people have already, I hope they haven't tuned out, but they're more likely to leave at the top of the meeting than at the end of the meeting. Which is why we started doing that. I think.
So can we add their meetings to our calendar?
Look at this visit.
Potentially, our board commission and committee software program holds a certain calendar, and that's for all of our city board commission and committee meetings. And it's in a different part of the website. But we can look into some solutions. There might be a way to do it.
Okay, that would be automatic.
Well, it's the same time every month. So once it's in there, right?
Right, our board commission and committee it's a separate software. So the way that it integrates with our calendar is a little bit different than we have the calendars for our neighborhood association set up. They don't go through that same software. So we just, there probably is a way we just get it created.
Griffin, we might need some help with that. I think that's a great way to do it because all the committee meetings are there. So.
Right, and I appreciate, with the software, it's making sure that these things talk to each other properly in the system. And you and your team have done a fantastic job continuing to help our system become more automated and more automatic for all of that. Jamie, and then I'm gonna go to Patty.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ms. Wissett, is the different platform that you're talking about the Civic Clerk?
It is.
So this is an educational question for me to understand the why behind it. Why don't we put the meeting agendas and the minutes on Civic Clerk for the neighborhood associations?
Can I answer?
Yeah. That's right. I'm just.
No, and Melissa knows this well, because we talk about it, and she knows it independent of me anyway, but no, as we currently stand, our neighborhood associations are not advisory committees to the body, because then they would be governing bodies that then would require all of the same things that public meetings have. And so they are intentionally independent of the city. So we don't, the more you treat them like an advisory body, there is holdings in law that basically the more you treat them like an advisory body, the more likely then they have to do notice, have their minutes, have, ADA compliance, have, all of those sorts of things.
But we're requiring that anyway.
We are recognizing them if they stay in compliance with our ordinance, but we are not controlling them because we don't want to. Even though we are taking in their records and it's becoming sort of a public record because we publicize it on our website, those are not independent, or those are not our records until they send them to us. And I know that sounds maybe a little bit confusing, but the idea is we would have to then take charge of naming them and providing, notice in very particular ways and doing all the stuff that you have to do for public meetings.
That's fine. I was just trying to figure out how we get it on the city calendar.
Oh, okay. But I mean, that's the education behind why we try to have that distance, even though you're right, they operate in similar fashion because it's helpful for their constituents.
So I retry.
I'm gonna go to Patty and then I'll go to.
Well, to segue on that, it's kind of like, we wanna keep and maintain like we're a monthly book club. I mean,
Yeah.
and not a government.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that's just kind of my little comment, but backing on the advertising and such, just pointing out and reminding too that the city does a really good job of posting on the reader board outside when we have meetings, and so I've driven by a couple of times and it's like, oh, yeah, that's great, and they do it in English and Spanish, so that's really great. We might have forgotten about that piece that is helpful from the city helps us with. And I just had a thought, and they're kind of speaking out about this, but Willamette Valley Bank has the reader board on River Road, and I think that they're pretty supportive, that all we would have to do is get in contact and just give our meeting information to them. And they probably would be agreeable.
Already to do that. They're already supportive of neighborhood associations, we have to get your meetings up to us and we'll get it
Yeah.
incorporated.
So we just need to get the information to them, so.
I know we're on the chamber calendar and the Southeast Kaiser is, but none of the other neighborhood associations are. So you have to contact the chamber to get on that calendar. And also,
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
yeah, and then also on the city website, you have to click on what is it? Resident. Why don't we have neighborhood associations that are resident? Because I know it's resident.
I agree. I think that's a weird title.
Yeah, I thought, yeah,
It is
if I wasn't,
difficult. It's difficult.
It's
mean,
not,
it's a
yeah, it's more than just neighborhood associations and residents, it's utility bill payments and K-23.
is that all on there when it
Yeah.
pops up?
Yeah,
Yeah, K-23 pops up, neighborhood associations and pay my utility bill. So then,
Be a separate pay, and you can do separate development.
I think it should be on different things.
so, yeah, I think it's your turn, Warren.
So is there a problem with putting that on our calendar? Is that a bridge too far?
No, putting it on the calendar, I guess.
The city calendar,
The problem that the way in which the city calendar is set up is that.
but again, if they can figure out the
If they
technical,
can figure it out, that's fine.
but you don't
Share
have a
that
legal
information.
problem.
No, and just to be clear. We are just trying to avoid, and I'm happy you even want to sort of keep it light, but yeah, we don't want you guys to have to be subject to public meetings either.
So that's my question.
Sorry.
That's my question. By putting them on our calendar,
Is it pushing it too far?
correct?
No, because they can,
There you go.
it'll be fine, but if we can figure out how to do it.
Great. That's where you want to be.
Yeah, and we can figure out
In the chamber.
how to do it, it would cause us to create an agenda for that, to get it on into our civic clerk calendar. So another 5 agendas a month, that we'd have to publish.
Most of them, maybe again, because, your suggestion was either the city calendar or the create its own independent calendar, but not all of them on one calendar, so it's.
Maybe
I'm gonna go to Dan, though, go Tim.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Walker, I think having them all on one calendar would make it a lot easier for the city and you don't want to have the public meeting loss thing.
No.
That would just mean that you wouldn't be able to talk to 3 or 4 of your neighbors without having a notice of some kind of.
But where would that calendar be?
But that, it sounds like that calendar could be on the city website. You click neighborhood associations, and there might be another drop down that says city calendar or neighborhood association. Calendar of events or something, and boom, it might be there. And there may be some meetings and things that are on their calendar that would also be on our city calendar or the chamber calendar or something else. So there could be some duplication of events. In my opinion.
I was going to town.
I'm just adding the same thing. I'm looking at the calendar now and there's a lot on there. We're just.
Which
gonna
calendar?
bury it. The city calendar.
Okay.
We would just be buried and I don't think we'd be found as easily.
Okay.
That's my.
Okay, so hang on just a sec. And then, cause Jenny found that.
The link is not live on the resident, under the neighborhood association page. There's the lag interactive map, and then the next bullet point down. It says neighborhood association calendar, and it's a dead.
It's dead, Jim.
That's.
Let's start.
Oh, gosh, not even the right franchise.
That
That was a fail.
Unless my laptop is.
So. I got the same thing.
But, so that's where it'd be, it would be under residents, under neighborhood association, under calendar. And that would be the collective calendar for all 5 neighborhood associations. That's what we're saying? Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I think calendar could be maybe bumped up a level, so when you get to the residence page. It says, no, stop. There we go, where it could be. Cause it says neighborhood association, it's a click that to get to the calendar, maybe if it has some pop-up. So when it pops up on this screen, you said neighborhood associations, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 calendar. So it comes up a level, that makes sense, if that's doable. Okay, so that would be one less link.
So can't we have a link on the front page that says, am I the only one that thinks residents has a weird title to go find neighborhood associations? Who thinks that's a weird title?
Well, just look at the page, look at the governments and services, residents and then visitors.
Yeah, no, it makes it.
Connecting for what we have.
Yeah,
Are you sure you want to go in?
so anyway,
I think it's a weird, I don't think it's intuitive. I don't think, like I said to you, where is it?
Yeah.
Look at Portland, everyone's.
can I retract this for a minute, because it was a really good, comment about social media. I think Griffin mentioned, and I think we've all noticed that under the, work of Mr. Brown, Ms. Bissett, and the team, that our social media has improved by orders of magnitude over the last couple, 3 years. So with that, what does better look like for you in the assistance of the city getting the word out? What does that look like in terms of content and opportunity? Colleen?
I really appreciate my seeing the post of, here's the meetings this week,
Oh, I love that too.
Totally love it.
and throw away the neighborhood station.
So stuff that's easy to share. So the media, we have the meetings this week, and now we have the police one. Those are super easy. So, what I'm hearing from is content that's easier for you to share. You don't have to create your own. So what does better look like? What's another, is there anything else that would be helpful from the city of easy to share content? So be thinking about that. I know, we get 4 events and so forth, but if something comes up like the city meetings, this week, and the police, You go, oh my gosh, I'm almost having to make this up, I can, if it was easy to share, you all could share it. Cause I know we look for it too, and we'll share those posts.
So is
Right.
that easy? Is that, when we get that thing that says this week's meetings? Like, can you throw a neighborhood association meeting on there? That's easy for you? Oh, geez, let's do that.
So that's what better, I think that's what better looks like, and
I agree.
it's totally shareable, once it's posted on the city,
Mhm.
it's on our city Facebook, it's on our, do we have Instagram? So it's on Facebook, Instagram, and link, is that on LinkedIn too? Could it be?
No one posted.
Oh, are you kidding?
Oh.
Yeah, I get a lot of action on LinkedIn. So with those three platforms, are those helpful platforms for you guys? Facebook, Instagram, I'm getting a thumbs up. Yes, yes, yes. So those three platforms give you a lot of opportunity to share across your media. So if we have those simple changes.
Yeah.
Then we have easily shareable, consistent, and then you add, like Colleen said, you add your thing at the top.
Yeah, I like it.
Beautiful, that's what better looks like. I love it. And with the social media, since we have a team that's already producing, you know, the quality content, I think it'll make it easier for you all to have something that you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and if you have come up with an idea, love to hear it. Okay? And those come out on a regular basis, that's every week.
Every week.
So it's super easy for you guys, every week, boom, 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 this is happening in the neighborhood. Our stormwater, our environmental division is doing a lot of posts. Are you guys, watching for those? Because there's projects happening in, I think, all of your neighborhoods. Trash Tuesday is coming. The Wallace House project is coming. Are you guys seeing those? So maybe you can hit your algorithm to make sure you pop in with our environmental division, because there's two winners on that. One, easy to share, two, great for the community, and three, the more interaction our environmental division gets, the more points we get for our NPDES permit. This is educational. Okay. So does that start to address some of the questions you had on media and advertising? So let's think about something we tried last year, and that was a shared, you all met and talked about shared media. What worked? And what does better look like this year? Or it didn't?
We're all looking at you, Greg.
Alright, so we have community fields banner, we have advertising with the Chamber of Commerce and the visitor guide, that the two main ones that we've done. The community fields banner is not getting really any returns, unfortunately. As of yesterday, we've seen 10 scans of the QR code since we put it up in October. Which is not much. It might increase
In the summer.
over the summer, because, you know, we did get it up kind of late in the year, so we might see an increase, but right now we're not really seeing returns, especially for the cost of that. This was pretty significant. The chamber ad has been a bit of an issue, this year. You know, in the past, it's been pretty easy and smooth sailing. Shani, as you know, it has not been smooth sailing because of the vendor primarily and transitions inside of the chamber. So we put that advertisement together in September. It's still not out.
Oh.
And we still don't have a solid date from the chamber when it's gonna come out. The vendor actually reached out to us recently to place an ad that we had already placed. So the vendor could tell us that, or the vendor's manager, the salesperson's manager said it's coming out in, what was that, end of July or August?
Oh, jeez.
Which
For
is,
25?
A year later.
26.
For 26.
So 25 never happened.
No,
The contract was signed on February 25.
yeah. So that's been a struggle and,
Wow.
yeah, it's been a struggle. So, and we don't really have that many other advertising opportunities in town. We also did Kaiser Times, which having very nicely alluded to some issues there as well. We've had some struggles with getting proofed information, getting the correct information out, getting the advertisements that we had already talked to Kaiser Times about. So that's been a little bit of a struggle, and Kaiser Times is gonna be going all digital. So that changes our advertising reach quite a bit as well.
For better or worse?
Personally, I'm a little worried about it because, you know, we have a trending to older population in Kaiser. So I think a lot of folks prefer physical paper and prefer that physical paper. So I think Kaiser Times is gonna take a hit when they go all digital. I mean, a lot of us are fine with all digital as advertisements, but I think there's a lot of population here that are not gonna be okay when that happens. Because they like that physical paper. And that's just extra on my part.
When are they going all digital, Griffin?
Robin didn't give us this, she says sometime this next year.
In 26? Correct.
Heard that. Okay, wow.
That was, so Robin was at one of our meetings, a few meetings ago and told us that.
So two things. So I'm hearing a lot of you tried stuff last year. Awesome, I love that you tried stuff. So we now know what tried stuff looks like. So let's talk about better, and one of them was. We talked about the rack card with all 5 of you on it with the QR codes that you can hand out. Did that happen? Or didn't? Is that something that better would look like? That might be something easy to pass out? Or going ahead for this year? Cause I thought there was a card or something that had all 5 codes on it.
We have put together, like an advertisement for all of us, and all neighbors thing. It didn't have QR codes or everything, it was one QR code going to the city's website. But that was not approved by all the neighborhood associations to do a print run of, so.
That
would be it.
Yeah, it just, for all the neighborhood, cause I initially, well, and now I don't remember my brain. Sorry,
Of course.
So, what, Griffin? So just rolling around some marketing thoughts in my head, what would it look like, and because I've heard the water bill, right, was brought up, but not everybody gets a tangible water bill. I'm wondering what it would, and I know that you've tried like the field or the community fields banner, because, and I think we gave you a set amount of budget for joint marketing. I'm wondering what it would look like to do like a 4x6 or a 5x7, every door direct mailer. I've seen this be really successful, for some other projects, across the country, so, I mean, other groups have tried it. That has and I think you could probably do a targeted, right, segmented, this QR code goes to this, you know, this lot of addresses, this QR code. But if that doesn't work, I'm wondering what it, just figuring out how to do a general QR code where people could scan it and enter in their zip code. Or zip code, it's all 303, enter in their address, sorry. I'm claiming sinus infection again. Enter in their address and find their local, right, and could it take it? I'm trying to think out loud on the fly of other
just out of the box things that could be done with those marketing dollars that would hit every residents in Kaiser, directing them to somewhere with that QR code to a yeah, something very much like that, you know, where is your neighborhood?
It goes to,
But what it would cost to mail that out. I'm just thinking,
I really like that idea, and these QR codes go to each of our individual spot on the city website, each of these, and we've tested them. And so I did these a year ago, which is a reduced down from the Kaiser Times ad. And then printed these out. And then, Griffin and Tammy, they did this, and then it's just the one QR code that goes. Where does this go?
That
guys?
goes to the main landing page
Okay,
for neighborhood associations on the
Yeah.
website.
and so for our neighborhood association, this wasn't something that really worked, but I do use it and I do put it out at events just because. I like to share and just collaborate in that manner, for us so that everybody gets recognized. But these, for us, are more effective when we're sharing, and then I have. That I use for our business card, I just have our little. Part of it, that I just use as it just because I thought, oh, I could. Be cheap and economical, and I put this all across, and then I could print more. And it was already made, I didn't have to then go to a printer to expend more money. That business cards made, so that was what I did. And then we put a sticker on for my name and phone number if we're somewhere that then somebody wants to call us. And each of the girls, they put their name on, you know, for contact, so that's how we do it. Maybe it's kind of cheesy, but it's economical, and my discount mode.
Like that blow tag. Before I go to you guys, Southeast made some really cool door hangers. Are you those guys? Yeah. And, they're all used up. Those were, relatively simple to print.
Do you have one?
I do not have, you know, I think we have one left. There might be one on the.
There's some in the store.
They're pretty cool, but I just want to highlight that because that was a neat,
And it was painting tool. English on one side, Spanish on the other, Swen. And she's good.
You produced some, Colleen?
No, she had been printed. So I had the day.
I think it was Vista print, right?
It was different. But we did do at the beginning of the school year, a little tag that we stuck on water bottles. When we all came together and said, have a great school year, because we had an open house, the kids were at, you know, took it to the Kaiser Fire open house as well, so. And an ABC in a schoolhouse, then our QR code and. We hung around for a while.
Usually for lunch, last camp last year too.
Yeah, and so I thought to work for that.
I'm just really creative. Okay, Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Patty, you said something a little bit ago that really rang in my ears, and I said. You said that we did this and it was cheap. Because I don't like to spend any money I don't have to spend. And that's the way I feel about most everything that I do. When I look at what we're doing with the city budget, and I think, how can we do it cheaper? I mean, that's just me, that's the way I look at that. One of the questions that I really have is. What is the percentage of residents that actually live in a neighborhood association? Because we have a lot of area in Kaiser with no neighborhood associations, just more go like married students.
Yeah, with various things going on. Well, South Lake isn't in, South Lake in West.
No.
No,
No,
I guess
they're
60% that are in neighborhood associations.
in McNairy, isn't
Right, McNary, yes, that's like McNary North, and then,
Meadows.
but your whole side of River Road is, you're all the way up through.
We're up through our country, hidden valley.
That answers another.
Sorry. That's a Gubser. Yeah, so it's just the.
So you're with Gubser?
Yeah, that's why it doesn't became Greater Gubser, went all the way through Hidden Creek Country Club, so that goes to the city limit. So it's River Road west, and it's, Chamawa, I think, no, Lock Haven. Lock Haven.
North. Yeah.
Except for, west, you have a chunk that comes up, Windsor Island Road and going west from there. So that's up toward, Lock Haven. Correct? Yeah.
That's part of the reason too, I asked for the number of residences and businesses within each of the boundaries, is because I know we've had this conversation many times, Patty, about that Greater Gubs are so huge, right? And so, that's part of the reason why I asked for those numbers within each of the boundaries.
And I think some of you reported them on, those numbers in your reports, because I remember you were citing this many households. And some of your reports you did too.
Well, and I just was gonna say, I know that my number is an old number, and it was just something that I inherited, that information, and so I have no. I probably shouldn't really report on it, but because I don't have authority in the statistics that it's actually accurate, it was just something that had been handed over to me, so it would be appreciative to know so that we had accurate.
So that'd be good information, so that would be
We can get
what better looks like, to have some, new numbers for the neighborhood association. Is that something doable without a lot of cost?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go to, oh, we want to follow up.
Just a quick follow-up, the idea that Council President Starr talked about with a blanket mailing, that's not that hard to do, because I do mailings things all the time, but it is kind of cost prohibitive. You're looking at at least 50 cents a piece from those guys. And so I don't know how many of those we actually would send to people that are part of the neighborhood. That was part of my question there. So.
Well, I think when you look at what the cost of chamber directory was, plus the
Yes.
field banner,
Yeah.
and you can do a bulk mailing, it's actually one of the more cost effective based on my experience working with this across the country. It's one of the more cost effective ways to hit every single address within the boundary area, especially when you do it through every door directly.
So I'm gonna go to, I think Rhonda, you had your hand up?
Yeah.
Okay,
There was a time that we did do a bulk mailing at West Kaiser. This was back in 2006, 2010, and we had a budget in 2010 of $2,000. And it cost us about $600 at that time to do a bulk mailing. And at that time, where everything was going digital, and it's like, well, you only get like 15, 20 people at your meetings for that much money. So, and I don't think a bulk mailing is really gonna get people out. Our philosophy has been to kind of focus on the neighborhood, and that's why we have brochure boxes that we put the newsletters in, and brochures and flyers about special meetings, that we have about 10 of those out there. It's kind of labor intensive to get out, every month and change it out. But hopefully we're gonna get some more of those too, get more down on the south part of West Kaiser. Because people walk the neighborhood, especially now, and stuff goes out of those boxes. I think that's the way to hit the people in our neighborhoods. I mean, with our newsletter, I have to give a shout out to Carolyn. She does a great job on it. half of our budget goes to printing that newsletter, but it gets read. And so we're gonna kind of stick with that tried and true, kind of the old school way of doing printing. Our brochures cost quite a bit last year too. Like I said, our newsletters, half of our budget. What we're asking for the increase to is for putting slow down speed signs for people who come in and testify to the multimodal committee that they're speeding on their street, and then the study done, and it's not a problem. They're told it's not a problem. So what we're gonna do is ask if they would like one of these signs, and then we're gonna put brochure boxes out too next to those signs. So it's just, I think, just getting, I hate to say it, written material out to in the neighborhood, and the signage for the meetings. That's really important. We'll probably get more of those signs too, to notify a week before the meetings, when the meetings are. I know people look for those signs sometimes to come up. So I don't know why, the water bill, like you said, not many people get that anymore, so that's kind of a thing by the wayside. I just don't know for the cost, the amount of cost. I'd rather see it go to individual neighborhood associations than a couple $1,000s to a bulk mailing to the whole city, because I don't think it's really gonna be that effective. I think those things that Patty had would be great for when we meet together as a neighborhood association.
I'm going to Griffin and Tammy, and then Patty, I'll come back to you, and Laura, you had questions.
So a few follow-ups here. One, I want to point out this is an election year. So sending out bulk mailings is probably not a good idea this year, unfortunately, because they will be ignored. Because we're
Ignoring everything else.
we're going to be programmed to ignore everything in our mail for the next 6 months. I like the idea though a lot, Shani. Like I've looked into direct mails for us before, and part of the issue is it's very expensive to buy like a targeted, like specific to our neighborhood boundary. It's a lot more cost effective to purchase based on USPS routes, delivery routes.
Do we have that targeted list though?
We do, but mailing to a targeted is a little bit more expensive. If you go the USPS routes, it's a lot less expensive because it's part of their routes, right? And it didn't make a lot of sense for us to do it because the routes don't map well to our boundaries, but if we were to cover all the neighborhood associations, that becomes more cost effective to go in that direction because they're more likely to fit all of Kaiser minus the north area that's not covered. And we should mail the north area even if they don't have coverage, because that encourages folks to maybe look into forming a neighborhood association up there as well. To know that we exist. To piggyback on something that Rhonda said, our yard signs, when we're talking about things that work, our yard signs are the most effective thing that we have when getting people to our meetings. Consistently, we have people say to us, I came because I saw the yard sign out the week before. And we're good about putting them out the week before the meeting, we pull them in immediately when the meeting's over, so they're not sitting out there, but those have been the biggest driver so far. And one other thing I want to mention is that's what it was, thank you.
Sorry.
The budget committee mentioned to us last year that they did not like the fact that we did a separate ask for all the neighborhood associations. So I just want to make sure that we're all aware of that they expressed that they would prefer that the joint funds be part of the budgets in some way. They didn't like that separate, looking at everything separately. And that was just a comment that they made at the end of that meeting. So.
Which I feel bad because that was kind of all of our idea.
Well, I honestly thought it was a good one because it allows us to pull together and provide a separate thing, right? We're not talking about individual things. We're talking about, here's the thing for all the neighborhood associations. So I agree it was a good idea, but the budget committee gave us some pushback on that last year, so.
All right, we're going to think of a different way to approach that. I'm gonna go to Lori, then I'll go to Patty.
So first off, I think the reason that your newsletters get so much attention, Rhonda, is they're really good newsletters. I use your newsletters. You send them to me email to the city council email. They're excellent emails. You guys should steal from her. She has such good, just general information. It's Carolyn.
Yeah.
And they're really good. And it's general information. I find myself saying, let me see what Wes Kaiser said. So, I will say that. I also want to say, you have an advantage. You all do something for National Night Out, right? All the neighborhood associations do something. I mean, you've got a captive audience and they're enthusiastic. There was over 225 people at Guzzers last year. And I kept saying to Patty, are you getting emails? Get those emails. I think that's really an excellent time to capture those emails and then create your distribution list. If you're not doing that now, that's a missed opportunity because they're there and they're enthusiastic and their kids are loving that. And then I just got my email today that Greater Gutzler is having their neighborhood meeting tomorrow.
And did you get the follow-up that I put the time wrong?
Oh, no, I did not. I know there now.
It's okay.
What time did you say, Patty?
Well, the meeting is at 6:30,
Oh, it's a
but
six.
on my email this morning at 2 AM that I sent out, I said 6 PM. So then I woke up this morning and Kaiser United and I was looking at their email and everything and Jen has all of our meetings and she said, at Gubser, 6:30 and I went, oh my gosh, I said it was at 6, so I hurried and.
You get volunteer grace because you're a volunteer.
And it's
Anyway,
excellent.
so I think that's really effective to get that stuff in your email. That's what I was gonna say. And if you're not picking that at National Night Out, do it.
So, yes,
So to kind of piggyback off the idea of the signs, 'cause I know we have a lot of success with the signs also. What about signs with QR codes that automatically take people to like a sign up page,
Oh, great idea.
something along those lines?
because you can, when you get your new signs made, you can put your QR code on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
So when you
something I
get
can-
your new signs made.
And bumper stickers. No.
Yeah, okay, seriously though. Who doesn't love stickers?
Oh my
no, I
God.
like
I mean, you see them everywhere. I mean, look at these water bottles. Adam, look, finish hold up your water bottle.
Water
What's all
bottle
over it?
tattoo.
Stickers.
If,
You
but
see
if
them
you're
everywhere.
a parent and you have little children, sometimes little children like to put those stickers, not on water bottles, but.
On the
things-
walls.
On walls and things where, and so it's a love-hate relationship sometimes.
That is true.
Sometimes I have follow-up things, so,
And then we'll wrap up with one more thing.
one of the things for our emails. We have raffle baskets at our event, so
smart.
they do not get a raffle ticket unless we get their email address. So though. People can give you fake, we did have like 3, I think, I mean, we got a lot of new emails, which was fabulous, and I think we only had like 3 that bounced back, so. Generally, people will give you, so that's our requirement, you know, if you want to get in the drawing, you need a contact information, you know, just your email. So then, follow up the question, because I agree that on an election year, we should not solicit a potential mailing. I like the idea of some kind of a postcard mailing. I think of, like your real estate agents, you know, that they send out, oh, hey, you know.
Your house is worth this much.
Yes, you know, your neighbors, you know, they just sold, and so those are catchy, and if we can incorporate it, that's good size. A question that I have, because obviously for this year it would not be a good idea. But could we, get some type of a cost estimate on what it would be? Like looking forward to next year as a potential. I mean, is there some way to do a budget cost estimate? Where would that come from, for the cost of the mailing?
So 2 things, one. Because we were talking about targeted, what if it was a citywide with all 5 codes? Because one of the things that we do is we invite anybody to come to any of your meetings, you don't have to live in the neighborhood.
Right.
So if it was one card, you rule them all. That said, here's all your 5 opportunities, and you're all invited to any of them. That I think would be
That's
better,
all,
or all, and you're all,
that's a better idea.
yeah, rather than targeted, that opens up the opportunity for people who aren't part of neighborhood association by their address to feel invited. Yes,
The realtors, back when I was doing a co-op preschool. We included an advertisement that when people sold or bought a house. And you get like coupons and Home Depot and stuff, we were able to. Like slip in the preschool advertisement.
oh my God, that's brilliant.
I would not know how to go about it, there was a connection in the school, I do have a realtor in the neighborhood who works for SMI, and I know they're huge around here. I mean, that's an idea, so they at least know what neighborhood association they're in.
And that they're invited no matter where they moved into Kaiser, so if there was one that realtors could give to new residents.
That's.
Welcome to Kaiser, you can attend any or all of these to sound connected. Yeah. Oh my God, I love that idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
We need to,
talk to our guys realtors.
so if we have a produced cards, basically. Who is gonna follow up talking to realtors about getting that in? There,
Looks like
Madam
Pam.
Mayor, I've
Yeah,
got
volunteers.
a number to recommend solutions on to somebody who wants it.
okay. And then, with the realtors, they can hand me out. for free.
So Chris was just saying the chamber used to do welcome packages for new people.
I don't know for sure if it was the chamber or another organization. I think it was the chamber a long time ago.
I could ask you.
Yeah.
Joe.
They tell us folders of information when you go in for info.
You can buy a spot on the pool.
Why don't we stick a postcard in it?
I
For
think
free.
it's post, yeah,
Yeah.
the universal postcard, Colleen.
I was thinking we have this parade coming up too.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Miss.
We have this parade coming up.
That would be passing out.
Flyers and something, somebody's see another idea.
Okay. So, I'm sorry.
That's the contact for durable, no?
Okay. So I need to get this to you all with the direct contact or bulk mail, we can get estimates and so forth. So I've heard some really great ideas on the issue of advertising, and I think we'll continue to evolve. So what I heard was, we heard some things that you brainstormed last year that you tried. Good job. We heard things that this year. Some, working with the newly created, easy to share on our social media, on 3 platforms that you can take and personalize. We've heard that there are opportunities for neighbor associations to talk to a couple of, organizations like the Chamber and the Willamette Valley Bank on partnering. There's no cost there. And then we talked about low tech, the signs. The signs. And then opportunity when you make new ones, if you wanted to do QR codes or stickers with that, make them your own. And then I also heard, the boxes work really well in Gubser or in, was Geyser. So talk to Pat, talk to Rhonda about how those work. They're great. I see them all over my neighborhood when I'm out walking.
Door hangers.
The door hangers, just, they're black and white. They're absolutely darling, super easy. And, very cost effective. So that was really great. So talk to Colleen about what they did there. And then, we can find out what we can do to create these postcards that have all 5 on them. And then we're looking for recommendations from you guys on how those can be distributed, if we want to do a bulk mailing. Or if we want to look at, working with our realtors and the chamber on having distribution sites. So I think we're looking to you for recommendations on that. And I know we're getting to the top of the hour, we would have a great deal to talk about, but there's something I'd like to bring up because I think it affects all of you in a good way. let's talk about National Night Out. So I know some of you have applied for grants with Kaiser United, you know, Kaiser United is going to evolve, there's a change coming. But my question as I began to talk with y'all is that the place where the funding should come from, a night out, or is this something that would be collaborative? I don't have the answer, I don't understand. I just think that it's really, you all approach it different ways. Is there a way that we can do better? I don't have the answer to that. So, you know, there's grants for the National Night Out in the bucket, there's, you know, promotion that you do for National Night Out, there's a collaborative one between Southeast and Greater Northeast with the Elks. So you all do it different ways. What would better look like for National Night Out? And we're not gonna talk in 5 minutes. I think we'll start this conversation, but I'd love to hear what better looks like from your point of view. Colleen.
So National Night Out organization itself has a variety of things they offer as resources for each person, each entity that has an event. So definitely we can order those, if it's something with our name, neighborhood association name on that. I don't, there's a cost to it. I don't remember, I just remember saying, here's all these resources you can use, so that's an option.
Patty?
I will say that National Night Out there organization, they, as far as their resources, they just have like ideas. And they do have items for purchase. It is not cheap. Their items to get the branded National Night Out items are not cheap. And so I don't do that every year. I buy it in bulk, and then 100 lanyards have lasted me through, because I don't just put them all out. It's like you put, you know, a dozen of them out. You just you kind of feel the crowd with it. Last year I spent, I don't remember how much it was, $25 on a National Night Out tablecloth plastic, but it's a thicker, better than your dollar store one. We will use that over and over again. And so, the postage is ridiculous. And again, I expense the postage, but $19 for that $25, you know, tablecloth was dumb. But I felt that it was something that I would use over again, and I would eventually, you know, use the, so. It wasn't a one-time throwaway, and I would, otherwise I would do the dollar store, the dollar throwaways, so.
Not good for the environment.
Yeah, so anyway, so that's the only thing that I will say about National Night Out. I think it's great, and I love to have the branded items, but just it's expensive, and so just, you know, budget it out or look at it, you know, for longevity. So that's just my thing on it. Oh, and I did, excuse me, I did get 200 or 100 little tattoos that were branded ink, and that was, so I misspoke. I got the and the tattoos, so. But I've got lots of tattoos left, so if you want a National Night Out tattoo. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think, the other thing that would be really fun this year, because it's America 250, it's our 250th semi,
250.
yeah, semi, just a minute, I can't remember the name.
Sesquicentennial.
No, there's another word in there. Anyway, it's like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Easier to say, actually.
Anyway, I would lean into Americana, red, white, and blue, and, you know, promote that. I mean, a lot of people really embrace that, and that could maybe bolster some of those numbers too. When we're doing our, at the cultural center, we have an annual celebration for volunteers and donors, and we're Americana all the way this year, baby.
I just like to say we do it a little different. I think these great events are awesome, but we already talked as a board, we're gonna continue to go around, like 4 of us from the board go around. Last year, we went around to 7 neighborhoods parties. Previously in July, we had, or June, we had a meeting to encourage people to have their national night out on their block. And, also partnered with, Kaiser United, Jennifer Helena, in getting 30 buckets, starter buckets that the police department had. And so, out of those 29, we had 12 from our West Kaiser who registered and got those buckets, and one of the gals on Hispania won the cornhole. So I don't know, it's just, we like doing it that way. And we get out and we got 17 signups. We ask for signups as we go around. We ask people what we would like to see different in the neighborhood. It's just getting out there and meeting our neighbors, and we take our August newsletter around too. So
There you
that's
go.
how we do it. I don't know. I thought about partnering with these guys, but we'll see.
You know, I don't
Not
think
this
there's,
year.
I don't
but
think there's a wrong answer.
No.
That certainly is more intimate to go into all those different street groups within your community. And all these things work.
It's fun.
Mhm.
Yeah. Get to know the neighbors.
West. Northwest. Thoughts on National Night Out?
With National Night Out, we coordinate and get the stuff in the city, and we get some, within our own budget, we budget X amount. For water and other supplies, and we traditionally have a dessert table, and we'll probably get for this next year, some from West Kaiser, cupcakes. And we had closed down Lacey Street and invite everybody in that area to come over, and the Newburgh and that area to come over. And that's what we've done for the last 2 years. We had about 100 people. Wow. Total, not at all at one time, just people coming and going. The year before we had a lot more, but last year we only had about 100. So that's what we're planning again.
I mean, we do that well. Kaiser does National Night Out well. And so take advantage of that and try to get your folks involved there.
Well, the first year there was more people, like any of the Kaiser neighborhoods, we have people moving in and out, and it's nice to try to meet some of these new people, but there are some that again don't want to participate. And we have put out little cards at all the streets that we've made ourselves, alerting them that National Night Out. And we talked to the post office or our postman, and we put signs on our mailboxes. He said, that's okay, as long as you get them down. So everybody comes to the mailbox, so they see it.
That's great idea.
All right.
So, but ours is more of a dessert, get together kind of thing. In city council, in the fire department and such, we've come by and police.
Absolutely. If those parties register, will come. Yeah. Oh, then I'll come back to Barnum. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I know that there are some neighborhoods that have rules and regulations, they've got their CC and RS, and they have to have a meeting once a year. In my neighborhood, they do that on Neighborhood Night Out. They have their association meeting, and then we all go and partake of victuals and have the cops come and everything, so that's why the cops come.
Now we know. Hot time and dance neighborhood.
Just the idea, if we did do this bulk mailing, maybe like a National Night Out thing would be a good thing to do. I don't know if we could turn it around this quickly because it's in August, but you could promote a National Night Out on the card and say, join your neighborhood association.
Yeah, so. Tammy, last word.
Yes, sorry, and that's why I was speaking that last word, so because most of us are meeting later this summer, or throughout the summer, I just want to throw this out there that we're getting our street art plan put together, I'm going to the Arts Association Commission this month, to get approval and move the process forward, and we're hoping to do it late July-ish. I'm gonna time it with McNary, So if there's a way you can just kind of spread the word, we're gonna let everybody know as best we can to get it as a whole citywide party if possible. Cause we're gonna be shutting the road down anyway, that's our plan, so more to come.
Might as well party.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, first of all, I know we're at the top of the hour, so as we think about National Night Out, what that looks like going forward, and you guys brainstorm ideas. Also, please work with our Kaiser Police Department because they do a lot of the outreach and everything. We want to make sure that Kaiser continues to show up with more parties than anybody else per capita, because that's what we do well. So thank you all very much for this brainstorming. Also, this is, we're gonna be reviewing, just so you know, the, neighborhood traffic management plan. Like other things, we're not going to leave things on the shelf. We want to continue to look at it, and that's the multimodal safety committee will be meeting in June. We're doing a work session in June, so please watch for that. And of course, you're all going to subscribe now, so you're going to get all of those announcements. But please come and be a part of that conversation as we look at what we did, is it working, and how we continue to explore what better looks like. Thank you so much for all of your work for the people of Kaiser. Anything else, final thoughts? Okay, thank you all very much. Yes, Griffin.
Just have one quick follow-up. I wanna thank Krista behind me because she helped me figure out how we could do the main calendar thing that we're talking about super easy, so.
Okay.
We have.
All right.
Brilliant. There you have it.
This is the.
We have such amazing people. Thank you all very much. The time is 8:04. We are adjourned.
Sorry.